Hello. I pray this finds you and yours well, and that our ethereal Father continues to bless and sustain you. In prayerfully reflecting upon the interactions between Jesus and the Canaanite woman in today's scripture from Matthew, I find parallels between her faithful, tenacious, steadfast advocacy of her ailing daughter and my vocation with children. I'm a public high school social studies teacher in Maryland with 22 years experience. I'll soon be starting year 23. When interviewed for what has truly become my vocation, not just career, I had to articulate why I wanted the position. I found that the motivations I delineated that morning in the late 90s are still the same, but have acquired greater significance over the years. I was reared in a politically astute family. Both parents were federal government employees who instilled in me a passion for politics and social justice. And although they divorced when I was a preteen, they both continued to push me to advocate for myself. In fact, the newspaper was among the tools my mother used to teach me to read. I attained degrees in social science in college and wanted to convey and instill in my students my passion for participating in our political process, while demanding accountability from our elected officials. Which brings me back to our scripture. The Canaanite woman importuned Jesus to heal her daughter, deftly invoking ethos, pathos, and logos, the three persuasive elements I teach my students. She had two strikes, however, against her, as a female from an often shunned ethnic group. She desperately sought compassion and grace from a powerful figure, Jesus in this case. Because of her persistence, he exceeds. Her relentless pursuit of healing is a model for our pursuit of social justice today in our country and world. Three quotes from among a myriad of inspirational social justice aphorisms or pithy expressions come to mind. Mahatma Gandhi's "Be the change you wish to see in the world," Desmond Tutu's "If you are neutral in a situation of injustice, you have chosen the side of the oppressor," and the recently departed Representative John Lewis's quote, "As you see on my screen, freedom is not a state, it is an act. It is not some enchanted garden perched high on a distant plateau where we can finally sit down and rest. Freedom is the continuous action we all must take, and each generation must do its part to create an even more fair, more just society." I feel it is my duty as a social studies, history, and government teacher to not only educate my students about the law, our Constitution, and their rights, but also help them develop a well-founded belief, find their voice, and do everything in their power legally to hold their elected officials accountable to their electorate. This doesn't mean I inculcate them to my social political ideologies. No. I guide them to resources and compel them to analyze and evaluate for themselves. I try to lead by example as I continue to do everything in my power to invoke the spirit of Gandhi, Tutu, and Lewis's aphorisms and realize their messages by speaking my truth to power, like the Canaanite woman, through rallies, protests, my votes, my letters to Congress, as well as lessons on history and politics to empower future leaders of tomorrow. In fact, in the spirit of our Canaanite woman in today's scripture, I've been further inspired to see many of my students advocate for themselves, like those at Parkland High School did, the student protesters there. They in turn compel me to be a better teacher and hold me accountable therefore. Among the many marginalized members of our society who have become victims of institutional racism, Tamir Rice has a particularly stinging effect on me. He was 12 when an officer summarily gunned him down while he played in a playground with a toy gun. He could have been one of my students in my classes in a few short years from his murder. I pledge to do everything in my power to assure that his death, along with all the other beautiful souls and martyrs to the cause of equity in our society, is not in vain. Ethnicity, sexual orientation, or gender must not equate to a death sentence, placing one in the crosshairs of privileged, powerful members of our society. So what does this anecdote, or my anecdotes and beliefs, mean to you? How does the Canaanite woman parable apply to our lives? What's the moral? What's the message? Our faith calls us to reflect on the Canaanite woman's tenacity in our interactions with those in power, regardless of our profession or lot in life. We all have a voice or a message, a truth message that we can express. We have power with our message to affect positive change in our community and society and world. Our faith compels us to, like Gandhi said, be the change we seek in the world. The key is to do it rooted in love. Thank you, and God bless.